Welcome to the NFL Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy. This is Curtis, and we got a special guest, and that's my normal co-host, Mr. Mikey. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Mikey.
How you guys doing? Thanks for letting me crash your party tonight.
Thank you for being on, brother. You're a great guy.
Yeah, man. And this is the premiere, man. My intro was just like, because I'm not used to the NFL Overtime Podcast, but I will get.
I'm used to Ric Flair.
Yeah, man. We're used to that. Welcome to the Mafia Sports Report, but now it's welcome to the NFL Overtime Podcast. I'm your host, Tommy. With me is Curtis, and with me is Mikey. There we go. Much better. Okay, so moving on. So let's start. I want to start with my man Curtis, because I haven't talked to Curtis in a minute. Curtis, I'm hearing that Tua is the greatest quarterback since Dan Marino. Is this true?
Come on. I hate the fact of everything gets wrapped up in this great or terrible. And it's just a bad failing of modern sports media. There's no nuance. There's no trying to actually accurately portray a player in what he is. It's always got to be this bloviation of greatness and failure. Tua is going to have some success. It's going to be based on the framework. He's going to add a little bit to that with his release, some of his growth in the playbook, and obviously with Hill and Waddle. But he's going to be based on the framework with a little bit extra. And that is a good thing for the Miami Dolphins. Is it as good as if they picked Herbert? I don't think so. But that's not really what it's about. It's about trying to get the most with what you have. And I think he's going to do pretty good if this offensive line stays together, which I'm not so certain.
Right. We actually were just on 30 minutes ago on Friday Night Lights. I was talking about Tua for a little bit. Oh, by the way, real quick, sorry. Let me backtrack. Curtis, tell everybody where you're from, where to find you, just in case people here are new, they don't know where to find you at. This way they can go subscribe to your channel, because they're going to need to, because every other week, every other show, the NFL Overtime Podcast will be on Ace Per Head. So you guys need to go over there and subscribe if you're going to want to watch this show next Friday. So go ahead, Curtis.
I got the YouTube page. As you can see the sign back there, Ace Per Head. The tech guys tell me I have some kind of Twitter thing and something else. I got to find out about that. I know nothing about it. I know nothing about any of that stuff. I know on YouTube, though, I am there on YouTube at Ace Per Head. I'll get all the information, but I'm supposed to have something. I just don't know nothing about it.
Hey, what is this thing you guys call Twitter? What's going on here?
I will tell the chat. You need to go check out Ace Per Head. Our man Curtis does awesome work over there. He is a Dolphins fan, so let's not kill him too bad. However, he is very objective about not only the Dolphins, but he's put out fantastic Buffalo Bills content as well.
Oh, dude,
talking about Josh Allen and he's super objective. So don't get mad if he's like, hey, they didn't work out this week, because there are times like I don't know what the hell they were doing, but at the same time, it's definitely something you need to go check out over Ace Per Head, because he has awesome series across the board.
Yeah, thanks, Mikey. Thanks.
Yeah, that's how I found him.
I think my Dolphins fans more than anything, man. I'm really just trying to. I think that's the hardest part about like our job. You're trying to cater to fans, but you don't want to lie to them and blow them up, because the letdown hurts more than the hard truth. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it's a hard line to cross when you do this thing. But you got to be hard on the people you care about.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. You can't be all rah-rah. Like, that's what I always say. Like my channel's not rah-rah. I may be loving my Buffalo Bills, but I will come on here after a loss and I will shred them if they played bad. Now, if they lost to a good game where they listen, and then I'm going to say, hey, here's a good and bad. But if they just plain sucked, then I'm going to let you know they were terrible. But back to the Tua thing real quick, Curtis. So what I was saying the last show was here's the problem I'm still seeing with the whole Tua thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're the Dolphin guy. It seems like since he's been drafted, the Dolphins higher up, if it's the owner, GM, whoever, has always tried. It seems like they're trying to move on from him, right? If it's Deshaun Watson or it's Tom Brady in the offseason or it's whatever,
Now Lamar Jackson.
Right. So my thing is, how can the guy's confidence now? I get it. Like the coach and Tyreek Hill saying he has the prettiest ball I've ever seen. Now, my question to you is, do you think they're kind of try to get this kid's confidence back up? Because it's weird because he really was almost out of here if Tom Brady would have came to Miami because the owner got fined and suspended for trying to get Tom Brady. So it's how confident
can he truly be?
Right. If you're knowing the owner, not even the coach, is trying to force you out of Miami for whoever. Oh, really, to be honest with you. Do you think it's more, I guess I'll go back to it, Hill and the coach trying to get his confidence up before the season starts?
Or do you think they believe what they're saying?
Right, exactly.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, the kid is not the greatest quarterback in the history of quarterbacks, and he's not the worst. He's got assets. You can see he has some good assets, and they're obviously trying to build them up. Ross is an interferer. He's always interfered. He's always lied, and he's always backstabbed, and he's always got involved in the football side of things when he knows nothing about football. It's just who he is. He's compromised Tua from the very beginning. He's the one who forced Tua in without the staff making the call, without Flores making the call in 2020, forced out Fitzpatrick. He's the one who has been screwing everything up from the beginning. And I don't know if that's going to change. But from Tua's standpoint, he's a professional. He's out playing for his job, whether it's here or someplace else. If he allows what the owner or the media or whoever is saying about them to really affect him, I'm sure, it affects everybody. But if he allows it to make him collapse, then he's not the guy. Because when you're in that Super Bowl game and you're driving down for the big score and you're down 6 points, you need the touchdown, and everybody's out on top of you, and you feel your whole body running through electric and your stomach is twisting so you want to throw up, you got to make it happen. And so this is either training grounds to prove whether he's the guy or he's not the guy. It's not the best case scenario, but if he is the right guy, he'll overcome and he'll find a way to thrive to get a contract someplace else or a second one here. And that's really it.
So let me ask you this question.
Big boy time here. This is not go run to grandma when you get a skin knee. It isn't. It's a cutthroat sport, and only the strong survive, the strongest. And that's really what it's got to be about. Look at Brady, constantly being all that stuff that wrapped around him, and he still kept performing. That's the sign of a true leader.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this question. Speaking of true leaders, going back to your new head coach, he comes from the Shanahan system, and he has that run first mentality. He's supposed to be the genius behind the run game. Do you believe his system's going to fit more what Tua's skill set is, along with Waddle and Hill? Or do you think it's just more about it's going to take some time? Do you think they hit the ground running, or do you think it's going to take some time before they really click?
Well, his concepts are awesome. The concepts are great. But, somebody was telling me this great quote. What was it? It's basically physical superiority cancels out theory. It's from this Hawaii coach. And the reality is, if you look at Shanahan over in San Fran, if they didn't have the offensive line, they weren't getting stuff done. They had Trent Brown and they had all the talent down the line. And that's what gets things done. Not all these awesome schemes. Because the reality is, if you got a guy who can't block and he's getting destroyed, blown up, the snot blown out of his nose, it doesn't matter what scheme you run. So to me, yes, Tua, the most important thing for Tua is a run game and play action pass with the rollouts involved. more important than the receivers. But when you look at the Dolphins, Eichenberg, and you look at Jackson, and you worry about is Teron going to stay healthy, this offensive line could easily break down. It has very little depth. There's big concerns as far as two players not being able to handle power, and even Connor Williams in the middle. He's good, but he is slightly susceptible to power. And when you do all this movement and action, all it takes is one guy to say, you know what, I'm not following the flow. I'm just taking this guy and driving him back. And it cuts the wide zone stretch plays in half. It breaks them down. And while you might get a pop play here and there, you're not going to have a consistent run game if you guys can't handle their business. And that's why Tomlinson went over to the Jets. Look at him. He was right next to Trent Brown or Trent Williams. I'm sorry. And those two guys were beasts. You know what I'm saying? It was a scheme helped, but they were beasts. And Teron Armstead next to Eichenberg is not the same caliber. And so to me, I don't know who he's going to be as a coach. I believe in his run schemes and his play designs. But if you don't have the horses, you ain't making it happen on a consistent enough basis. And that's really what's going to come down to.
So really, they have the horses from a skill position standpoint. Your concern is the O-line and giving them enough time to be able to do it.
And Chris Greer has had a history from 2007 with abysmal ability to evaluate the offensive line in free agency and the draft.
How does he still have a job? How does Greer still have the job?
Nepotism. I don't know. The thing with him, he'll pick. The last couple of years, he's nailed some really high-end players along the way. Mm-hmm. And that accelerant gets people excited, but a lot of fans really don't understand the gravity of having an offensive line that's subpar.
He's missed on Jackson and Eichenberg and a lot of these guys. So,
and he spent 2 fourths on Kinley. We just caught him. A second and third on Eichenberg, who was brought as a tackle. He was evaluated as a guard, forced to be a tackle, back to guard now. Jackson was a tackle, moved to guard, then moved to tackle, and that's an 18th overall pick. And then you got Dieter, who's a 3rd round pick, and he's terrible too. And so if we have an average offensive line, it's still possible. It's still possible. If we have an average offensive line, this team will do really, really well. But if it's subpar or it gets some injuries, it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be very hard.
Tommy, it sounds like he's talking about Cody Ford, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's
do a whole video on him.
I told you, Curtis. I told you about the Cody Ford experiment.
It's all right. I'm telling you, that guy grew. I like him.
I know you. So does Mikey, but I'll tell you what. This will be his probably last opportunity to show what he has. It's a fresh start. If he can't do it in Arizona, it ain't gonna happen. And I'm not saying he won't stay in the league. It just starting probably won't just be in his future. No. He'll be a rotational player, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Maybe that system fits him. I haven't heard, to be honest with you, I'm not a Cardinal guy, so I haven't followed how he's doing so far over there, but I haven't heard anything bad either. So,
the thing is, too, with those offensive linemen, sometimes they pop, sometimes these kind of guys, they grow slowly and then pop around 28, 29. And they get 2 or 3 good years out of them, So he might be a late bloomer.
Are you nervous about Dolphin fans turning on Tua for Teddy? I mean, you know how this works.
Not. Skyler, they got I think Dolphin fans are a little too high on Skyler, the 7th round pick. He's the 3rd guy. And they just,
No, one of those guys.
He's preseason a hero. Like Skyler looked awesome against those 3rd team guys.
It's hard to really extrapolate preseason play like that and how you're going to do in the regular season game. So you might see a lot. If Tua really struggles, you won't see Teddy talk. You'll see Skyler talk.
Yeah,
really. Yep. See, and I think Teddy's is probably the most talented of the bunch.
Man, he's a journeyman at this stage.
He's a journeyman that's from South Florida.
Yeah.
Who listen, he had a pretty good completion percentage throughout his career.
Mhm.
He just had some bad luck with
And
injuries.
some bad teams.
But I definitely, we've been down this road before as Bills fans. When a backup is there who has some kind of track record and fans just want to cheer them on to see him in the game because they're sick of losing or sick of turnovers. And that's what happens sometimes. And I kind of see that happening, but we'll see. I have no idea. Also, the other factor is Tua has that injury.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, that's my real concern with him.
Right. So it's been really, if you really go back with Tua since high school, injured in high school, injured in college, injured it throughout, I think almost every season. I could be wrong in the NFL, but it seems like he's banged up. He's lost games every season. So my question is, what if hypothetically he's doing okay? Let's say he's doing all right. He gets banged up, misses a game or two, whatever. Teddy comes in, plays a little better, and you guys win. What do you think then? You think then they make that move, or you don't think that'll be a problem?
To me, it's going to come down to two things: cornerback depth and the offensive line. And to me, though, that's where you're going to see the team get exposed. I don't think Tua is going to do so poorly unless he has some bad snaps or interceptions. I just think that you're going to see this offensive line struggle to run the football and then get into deep, like third and long situations possibly, and then you're going to have offensive line breakdown. And I think that fans are savvy enough to see that this offensive line breaks down and you see Tua getting hammered. I think most fans are going to understand that. And I think the cornerback situation is very, very tenuous. And I think you're going to see problems there. I just don't see him playing bad enough or Teddy coming in and playing that much better that it becomes a thing.
Okay.
Now, the only other thing, I just don't see that. I don't, because, Tua's got some really good strengths to match with this thing. And there's just so much receiver talent. He's going to get the ball in their hands. I just don't know if they're going to be able to be consistent enough. And if they get in like tough weather games and in this secondary, can they handle the pressure that's going to be on him? Because right now, Byron Jones is out for 4 games, kind of like Trey White, who's playing over. You can't run the zero when you only got one cornerback. And even Howard's got some kind of minor injury issue here. So to me, I just think it all comes back down to Greer and his offensive line. If it flies, he deserves kudos up the yin-yang. And if this team folds, it's going to be based on the bad Noah Pickett corner and this terrible offensive line he's built. And then you can get to Tua because really he's far down the line. It's got to be about this offensive line because it's always been about this offensive line. It'll just be a repeat of history.
Okay, so let's say the offensive line is bad, maybe you're saying, or could be, or however it works out. Let's say it's not a good season for Miami, right? You miss the playoffs. Are you guys, is the Tua experiment done in Miami, or you think they stick with Tua?
I don't, honestly, if they don't make the playoffs, Chris Greer needs to be fired pronto. I mean, it'd be mind-blowing that he does not get fired. But at this stage, you have Stephen Ross, who's embroiled with so much stuff. He's the one who's interfered. No one will work with Stephen Ross. No, he tried to get Peyton, and that didn't work out. And that was because they're going to have Brady and pay lots of money. But other than that, McDaniel was like the 4th guy in the line, and he wasn't really interviewed anyplace else. Now, it's not to say that McDaniel's not going to be a good coach, but this is not a destination for people who want to come here. It's just not.
Any 53 man, any cuts, any 53 man surprises throughout the NFL? I guess we'll start with your team since we're talking about the Dolphins. Any kind of surprise guys that stayed with the team? Any surprises that got cut? I know Sony Michel got cut. Were you surprised?
Yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise.
Okay.
But to me, a bad sign was Noah sticking. He's a first-round pick. He's in his third year, and he's abysmal. And it goes back to like Chris Greer. There's something to be said about sticking with your picks, but then there's also another way of like you sticking a little too long. So Noah's staying with such a thin cornerback group. I don't know. That was a little bit of a shock. I mean, knew it was going to happen, but it really, Bowden Jr. Bowden Jr. was another one. I think that kind of came from Skyler. They had to keep Skyler. Bowden Jr., I think, is a guy that's on the practice squad with the Patriots, and I think that guy could shine with them. I thought he had talent. I think he's got some.
Was he just underused there? Because the kid coming out of college was just a playmaker, and he didn't stick long. Like he's one preseason game with the Raiders, and then he dealt him to you guys, and then he only spent a couple seasons with you guys, and he just never seemed to materialize. Was it a system and he wasn't used right, or do you think he's just limited and he's a better college player than a pro player?
Well, I think that he did pretty good in 2020. If you watch, the guy flashed big time. Mm-hmm. And I expected him to come back in 2021 and do something, but he got injured somehow. And then they stashed him on IR. And I don't know if they just stashed him to hold him over for a year and he really wasn't seriously injured. But that really robbed him of 2021, on which I thought he was a good springboard in 2020. And then this year they drafted EZ, and then they had Wilson, and they have Hill and Waddle. I think it was a numbers game, especially when you're going to keep 5 tight ends. Like Hunter Long is a guy who's not really a producer.
Crazy.
And they got to keep an extra tight end to protect him. And then you keep in Skylar as the third quarterback. That really constricts stuff. And I figure that. Sorry, my little son's coming. You can't come in, buddy.
No, bring him in.
That's what
bring him in.
Yeah. My 6-year-old's like, hey, no. But so I just think there's a lot. If you really look at the roster, you got to keep Hunter Long, which you really shouldn't. He's not producing. So you got to keep somebody to back him up. You got Jackson, who you're really concerned with. Can he really play that right tackle spot? And then you got Noah, who's really not going to start. If he does, you're in big trouble. So you got to keep a guy to protect him. And then you got Skyler, that third QB. So there's a lot of players that really shouldn't be there that I think Bowden would have stayed with a more, production-minded build rather than potential.
Okay. Any other 53 rosters around the NFL that surprised you, or everything was kind of what you expected?
There was a few that got me.
Let's hear it, Mike. Tell us.
Yeah, so there's a few that actually got me. Obviously the offensive lineman, seeing Leatherwood get cut after being a first-round pick last year was surprising. Yeah. He got picked up by Chicago. Wyatt Davis out of OSU, who was hyped as a first-round talent, but went in the third. He got cut from the Vikings and ended up with the Giants. The trades were surprising, like Tavon Mullen from Oakland. Oakland's cleaning house. Or not Oakland, it's at Las Vegas now. The Vegas Raiders are cleaning house because Tavon Mullen was dealt to the Cardinals. There's a lot of little things like that caught me off guard this year. I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. I think on the Buffalo Bills side of things, for the most part, except for maybe one or two, Mikey, I would say there wasn't anything that was surprising. I'll be honest with you. Like Bobby Hart staying on the team, I guess that's a little surprising.
OJ Howard getting cut was the biggest surprise.
Yeah, OJ Howard was, that might have been the biggest surprise, but we kind of heard, I think we kind of felt like he might have been on the bubble because we were talking about it, but we were saying no, because he had a good block, he had a good preseason blocking.
He's a fantastic blocker.
But he didn't shine on the offensive side of things. He didn't do anything productive as far as doing any. I think he had one touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. But other than that, he was. And then in camp, I know he was a little behind in the playbook. Now he signed with Houston, and we'll see what maybe he can. You
have to remember, because if you go back to what Josh Allen was talking about, they just did an interview with Chris Sims, and Josh Allen talks about the offense. And he says there's like 125 different routes someone can run, off of one formation. So the way the Bills run their offense, it's all option routes. Like every route's an option route. It isn't structured to where you take 3 steps, 5 steps, the ball gets out, and the player's going to be here or there. That's a lot harder to pick up on when you don't fit a scheme like that. So maybe Howard just never got comfortable in this type of offense to where he needs more of the structured. Okay, you're going to run a 12-yard out. You're going to pivot here. You're going to wait, and the quarterback hits his 5th step, and the ball comes out. To where the Bills play backyard football 95% of the time.
Yeah.
Great point, Mikey. Great stuff.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's the first thing. And that's a thing that I go back to a lot too. Remember when me and Mike talk a lot about, and I say, man, especially on offense, like you gotta be up, caught up to speed with the offense, right? Like, and that's why I was saying about when we signed Crowder initially, and I was excited, but I also was saying that, and me and Mikey were talking about this when Crowder was hurt during OTAs and camp. I said, because, we were automatically assuming he is going to be the slot. And I said, well, listen, McKenzie has something already with Allen. Allen already trusts McKenzie. He's already up to date with the offense. Crowder hasn't done anything yet. He's on a bicycle. So look, he lost his slot job because of that. Now, he didn't lose his job. He's still a part of the offense, but I almost wondered did that hurt him not being able to, come into camp healthy, getting those reps, because listen, if you're not comfortable with the quarterback, then the offense, Ken Dorsey, whoever's running the offense is not going to have you fill that slot. So I think O.J. Howard just never caught on to the offense. And I think they felt like Tommy Sweeney, which
he knows the offense. He's been here for 3 years.
He's been here. Right. I'm not the biggest fan, but I don't hate the guy, but they trusted him more clearly.
I felt Howard was a more talented player who just didn't catch the offense and maybe they just feel like he wasn't going to catch the offense. Mm-hmm. And then Morris surprised a lot of people. And the undrafted free agent that transitioned from wide receiver to tight end last year. And he had a great spring and then training camp and then preseason games. And they're like, okay, he just outplayed the guy, so it's time to let him go.
Yeah. Other than that, though, me and Mikey were satisfied. I was very satisfied with the cuts and actually I was satisfied with who they brought back, because some of the guys that we cut were like Isaiah Hodgins, guys that shined, Blackshear, and we got him right back on the roster. I will say Duke Johnson, who had a pretty good preseason. That wasn't great, but it was not bad. He's interesting for the Dolphins. Would you like to see him back in Miami? Because he played well with you guys, and you guys.
I don't think he's that.
Come from the practice squad.
Yeah.
Did he get picked up already?
He's on our practice squad.
Oh, we picked him back up. Wow. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. That's real.
I don't
but you
know
guys
if
still
he
could take him.
I don't know if he fits the Dolphins running back room.
Yeah, but
they have Edmonds and they have Mostert, and they still have who was the starter before those two came? I can't remember his name.
Gaskin.
Gaskin. I don't think he's better than any of those three. So I'm not sure that he fit.
He played very well last season with them.
He's more of an inside zone runner, and he struggles. He struggles when the blocking goes off schedule early, and he has to make LOS reads close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, but remember though,
inside zone runner.
But you could pick up anybody off the practice squad unless they're protected. Just a heads up.
Yeah.
Just because they're on a practice squad doesn't mean you can't. Like we could lose practice squad players. Like if Hodgins isn't protected, means nothing if somebody wants to pick him on the 53. Now, will it happen? I don't think so, because he would already got that opportunity before we put him on the practice squad. Which, by the way, Luke Tenuta got 53. I guess that was a surprise.
That was the Colts picked. Did you watch enough of the Bills preseason games to understand Luke Tenuta? He was our 6th round draft pick out of Virginia Tech. He was a left tackle, short arms, tall guy. Yeah. He was a turnstile this preseason, and the Colts claimed him, and he's on their 53. Man. And I'm like, whoa.
Unless they see something.
I was actually going to do I had cut a part out of my Bills podcast
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do if you watched the stances, I guess it's Hart on the left side and Tenuta was on the right side. Is that his name, Bobby Hart?
Yeah.
He was left side. If you look at Bobby Hart's stance, it was very upright, and Tenuta has this.
You don't say.
Lean. He has his heavy lean, and it was almost like he was falling asleep in his stance. And I think that his stance, if it gets corrected, it's going to help him a lot because he had such a heavy lean. He was leaning so heavy on his elbows that he was getting beat off the jump. So that's a guy, though, that a technique can really fix him up because I was going to actually do to show the difference between Hart and Tenuta. And if he can get that pre-snap stance to look like Hart, I think it's going to go a long way to help him because there was some assets. Like I was going to talk about, I was like, I'm going too long on these guys. They're probably going to make the team or whatever. So I cut it out of the podcast.
It was a good cut on your end, but I'll tell you, looking at Hart and looking at Tenuta, really neither one of them really belong on an offensive line. Like Bobby Hart's a break glass in case of emergency type of player. Exactly. And I'll tell you, with our new coach with Cromer, if he can't fix you from a technique wise, you're not fixable because the guy is a master at technique. It's what his calling card is with a lot of these guys. So well, hey. Good luck with Andy, buddy.
Right. I think Colts might be in trouble if they're picking him up and expecting him to be a starter.
I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know if he's just depth for them or what. I don't know what's going on. That's
odd. On the fit, that's really odd. Real quick, Russell got paid. 5-year, $245.
165 guaranteed.
Yeah, your thoughts on that, Curtis? You think he's deserving of that? Considering where he's at in his career right now,
down for them,
right? Or you think that's where the market's going?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard because you're paying these guys so much money, and not to blow you guys up, but you get a guy like Allen. He's worth more than what he's getting paid, even though he's getting paid as much as he is. And that's a really rare thing. To me, Mahomes, the same thing, but I don't think he's as underpaid as Allen is. Mahomes, to me, is super talented, and so is Allen. And you look at guys like Carr. Carr's getting $39 million. You got to pay him that money, but I don't know if he's worth that kind of money. I don't know. I mean, Rodgers is. But at that age, I don't know, man. It's so much money,
Rodgers
man.
Getting 50. Rodgers is getting 50 a year.
Yeah, that's.
But what do you do without him? It's just it's a rock and a hard place. And guys like Mahomes, Allen, even Rodgers. These guys are at least you could say they're either equal value or really really close. But then you got other guys like Dak, who's making 45. Dak's a good quarterback, but 45.
I think he's
44
he's over.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I think Dak's good.
But that's the market. And how they the next guy gets paid above. Because can you imagine what Lamar or Herbert or Burrow is about to make?
Market at 50. Because he runs. So it's you got all his money tied into a guy that's just slamming his body around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you pay that to him.
We were talking about the Lamar thing. We were saying last show. That it's odd they haven't. Something's going on there that they haven't gotten a deal. That they haven't gotten a deal done is really odd. So I'm really thinking Lamar wants big money.
Yeah,
and I think they're gonna. I have a weird feeling. And Mikey, you made a great point. They're gonna probably give him the 5th-year option.
Well, he's on the 5th year this year. They're probably going to tag him next year.
Right, tag him. Right, the franchise. Right, and then I think he's going to get either traded the following season or he's going to go and get one more season and get paid. I think he's going. I think someone's going to.
I don't think Baltimore wants to invest in a guy who could because he's been hurt both.
It's so
each of the last 2 seasons.
It's really risky.
He hasn't finished. He doesn't finish the season the last 2 years.
Right.
I feel bad for him because I really, really like the guy. He's got such heart. I don't think they developed him, though. I thought they just said, All right, we're going to grind as much out of him as we can.
Hit
And
that
they ran and really didn't develop him.
They didn't develop him. They didn't give
him.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, they don't let him throw the route trees. And that's part of the problem. Lamar can throw the ball. If you go back and watch him in college, the guy could make all the throws. And what they did, like, okay, he's a really good runner. So they lined up that 49ers Colin Kaepernick offense because it's the same offensive coordinator, and they ran it with Lamar. He's just better at running. And they haven't given him the receivers that he needs. They gave him a great tight end.
They took away one.
Yeah, like they haven't invested. Like if you go back and look at what the Buffalo Bills did, they invested around Josh Allen. You go look at what Kansas City Chiefs have done. They've invested around Patrick Mahomes,
Arizona,
Kyle Murray. Look at Justin Herbert. They've invested around him. Then you look at the quarterbacks who haven't succeeded. I mean, Lamar Jackson succeeded above his skill players when he won the MVP because he's just a freak athlete.
Mark Andrews, that's all he has.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, they haven't invested. Like you go look at Aaron Rodgers, as great as he is, they haven't picked a first-round wide receiver since Javon Walker.
Yep.
You know,
it's weird.
And they get as far as Rodgers can take them, but they don't have that extra skill guy to help them, and they refuse to build around those guys. And I think Baltimore has done him actually wrong in the fact that they haven't built around him and given him the skill guys he needs.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. I think Buffalo definitely showed how it's done right, especially with a guy that needed work. And the truth is, Josh Allen came in.
He was a raw prospect.
Yeah, he needed work. We all know this, but they understood that. And what did they wind up doing? Okay, you get Cole Beasley, you get John Brown. Here's your start, right? Okay, here's your offensive line. Now we're gonna,
hey, thanks. You're right. Hooking Tommy up, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
we got a super chat, Tommy.
Yeah, you're right. $5 from you're right. We need to get your name out there, get more views. I appreciate it, man. Hey, man, we are trying to do a lot of good things in Mafia Sports Report. By the way, like. We will be on here pretty much 7 days a week before you know it because we have a lot of content. I like Curtis. I don't know if you're caught up to date with Mafia Sports Report, what we're doing, but we got NBA podcast coming late September on Thursdays. We got the Friday Night Lights. We got NFL Overtime with me and Curtis. We got a fantasy football show on Saturdays. We got the AFC East Shakedowns on Saturday night. We got post-game Buffalo Bills. Yeah. We got Monday night Mafia Sports Report. Then Tuesday, we got a wrestling podcast. We got a lot going on. And there's even more coming.
Yeah, this winter we'll have Warpath crossover with Jason Malloy, who's our hockey guy.
I totally forgot. Oh, and real quick, I do got to bring something up real quick. And Curtis is on a time limit. So I'm going to do this quick. We have something really, 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 really special this season for you guys. Something so unique and different. We are having something called Tailgate Talk, which me and Mikey actually created. But this is a little twist to it. And this will be a tailgate experience, Bills Mafia style. Every home game with Jason Malloy, he's basically going to be recording the tailgate, the tables breaking, Pinto Ron, interviewing fans, pre-game, post-game, and bringing it to you. So people that can't go to the game, that want to experience what it's like to be at a Bills Mafia tailgate, will see that every home game this season. And then we'll be posting that video the next day. So, I hope you guys like it because it will be an experience that, like I said, a lot of fans, a lot of Bills Mafia are in different states, right?
That's me.
Mikey's in California. I'm in Detroit. Curtis, big Bills Mafia fan.
I'm going to try to make the late Bills game, Bills Dolphins game up in Buffalo.
Oh, that'd be a good one to go to. But thank you. We appreciate the super chat and getting our name out there.
Well, yeah, so that's I wanted to say that real quick.
It's a fun crossover with Curtis. Curtis is always a good.
Oh, he's the best. That's why. Listen, that's why we're NFL Overtime podcast. I want this to be more about just NFL in general. So let me move on because Curtis does need to go. So, linebacker Harold Landry, ACL tear. terrible for the
Brutal.
Titans. Did that on Wednesday. So probably out for the season. We definitely won't be playing him. You won't be seeing him when we play him in 2 weeks on Monday Night Football. Your thoughts? I'll start with Mikey on
That's a devastating
Carolina.
blow to Tennessee, who already has done some reshuffling on their offense. So they had to lean defense. To see one of their best pass rushers go down like that, oh man, my heart goes out to the Titans fans. Not
Yeah, it's
really.
rough.
I'm not really, but there's no love lost between the Bills and
Hey,
Titans.
we're missing Trey White. All right,
Yeah.
damn it.
Like that's my heart goes out to
it does
Landry.
suck,
The kid is special coming off the edge, and he really broke out in 21. I was excited to see what he was going to do this year. To see him go down, it's a bummer. Especially, was it non-contact?
It was in practice.
Did they say?
They didn't
So it was
say.
probably non-contact. Those are the worst ones. Oh
Yep.
man, that sucks to
Curtis.
hear.
What's your thoughts on Landry's situation, man?
Well, this is a big year, man, because I really believe the Colts with Ryan are going to be tougher. And I think they're going to really contend to push the Titans so the Titans don't have an easy road to take that division. And I think they're going to really, this AFC has just got so boosted in so many ways, whether it's the draft and free agency.
Wild.
It's going to take so much to get to the top to just before you even come out of the gate to lose a guy like Landry for defensive-minded, like Mikey said, defensive-minded team. It's a serious blow. And I do feel bad for fans because, all of us, whatever fan base we're from, it's been a hard couple of years. And, you got people that they're just trying to find a little smile and they're waiting for the season to start. It's like, you can lose, but when you lose a key guy like that before the even season starts, it's like a kick to the nether region. So it kind of sucks,
Yeah.
I hate to see that for anybody. There was a time when I was Patriots, when Tom Brady went down, I was cheering, but that's a long time.
That's right. That's all of the AFC East, buddy.
I've become much more mellow in my old age, but, it sucks. It's going to be very tough to overcome. Because, they've got a lot of pieces that – a lot of rookies and young guys, they got to try to get something out of there, and you want to build on what you got. And Landry was a big piece of that that's now gone.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel about the Jimmy G situation? Him staying and as a backup?
Smart.
Yep, that's what I said.
Smart.
So let me ask you this question about the Jimmy G thing. With knowing you have a young quarterback who really is kind of raw, much like Allen was when he came aboard. He's actually rawer than Allen was because he didn't even get as many starts in college as Allen got. Do you think it was a smart move to have that guy to where he's looking over his shoulder? Because they talked about it when Cam was released, and they said, well, will he come to Buffalo? And our GM's like, no, we're not going to bring him to Buffalo because we don't need our young quarterback looking over his shoulder. Do you think that could play into it? If he goes out and he's starting to struggle, because the fans are going to want Jimmy G, who's led them to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago and then to the NFC Championship game last year, calling for Jimmy G to come in. Do you think that could possibly swing things within the organization?
Well, I played a little bit of football, played a lot of different teams up to a semi-decent level. Really, it's about winning. I mean, we want, Skip Bayless and everybody else to make these drama stories, but it's about winning. You invest a lot of draft capital in Trey Lance, but the team needs to win. And even when they were pulling Tua and putting Fitzpatrick and people go lose their minds, it's about winning the damn game. Mm-hmm. And if it takes this kid 2 or 3 years to develop, then that's what it takes. If Jimmy's got to come in and get you to the Super Bowl, that's what it takes. It's just about winning. And we were so far away from real football, I think fans are. We're so caught up in this drama about emotions. Because you got to remember, there's so many of these media types out there. There's squirrely little dudes who've never had a fist fight in their life. They've never played a football game. And they're all about emotions and crying in your handkerchief. And they project who they are on these warriors, this warrior sport, this athletes of the highest physical order, and they have no clue. I mean, yeah, everybody gets their hanky up in a bunch sometimes when you get benched, but the team wants to win. They're not worried about anything other than that. And whatever it takes to get that win is the right move. And you keep going, you keep building, you get this kid back in his saddle, you spend all the capital, and then by his third or fourth year, you'll know what you got. And if Jimmy takes you to the Super Bowl or whatever along the way, it's all wins. We got to stop. I think fans need to stop chewing on this stuff. It's like the whole thing with Tua. They use him like this poor little whiny kid, and then one moment he's the bad guy, next minute he's the victim, and it's all this media. And I hate to say it, it's a lot. Now you got all these like non-football guys you got women in there and all this other stuff, and they're focusing on stuff that really these professionals aren't as focused as they are on it. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's a smart football move. It's about winning games.
So you think all the media that's been talking about, it's going to cause a problem are the guys that have never been in the locker room. The guys who've been in the locker room understand that it's about those, 70 guys that are in there, the 53 plus the 16 practice squad guys.
It's easy to say, oh, poor Trey, poor Tua, and then they make a big drama out of it rather than just focusing on X's and O's and what's going on. It's much harder to create content if you're actually trying to investigate football rather than just create soap operas. I mean, it's so easy. Just you take something and you blow it up because everybody's feelings get hurt and they want you. It's football, so it's fanatics, and they get you emotionally attached to one player. And Joe Blow says he sucks, and then you get a million hits, and that's it.
Yeah. It's all about that clickbait, right?
That's it, baby.
That was a fantastic answer, by the way, Curtis. Yeah. That might have been the most level-headed thing I've ever heard.
All right, so we're diving. So Curtis. Guess what next week is?
Week 1.
Week 1. This, man, I got to say, this offseason seems like it took forever. But we're finally here. And the Thursday game is, of course, they're going to put the Buffalo Bills versus the Rams. I called it. I knew it. I had a feeling. Your thoughts, I'll start with you, Curtis, on the Buffalo Bills versus the defending Super Bowl champions. How do you see that game playing out?
Well, I think that you got Davis and Diggs, and I think that's going to put pressure on their secondary. I think you got Jalen Ramsey's going to handle one guy. To me, it's going to come down to Aaron Donald versus Bates. That's your right guard, right? Bates,
right guard, yeah.
Yes.
That's going to be the key for me. And I think that running the football and balance. I mean, last year, the Rams were top 6 or 7 in run defense, but they were 21st, I think, in pass defense. But it doesn't really matter. That balance and the ability to not let Donald pin his ears back, I think is going to be key. And I think that you got an edge because this offensive line by the Rams is in flux. You got Rousseau, Oliver, and you got Vaughn on the edge. And, they don't really – I got Cooper Kupp, but they're not really too deep at the receiving group.
They have Kupp and Allen Robinson.
Yeah, so I think that if you guys can get a semi-balanced attack, I think you're going to win it because I don't know if they have the firepower. They're both their running backs with dinged up soft tissue issues. Yeah. And I don't know how this offensive line is going to play out. Their right guard is a guy that's really – I can't remember his name. I was doing research on him. I can't remember his name. But he's going to be a guy that Oliver – I want to see Oliver pick on. If you can force them into a one-dimensional look by stopping their run game, limiting their run game, which you guys are really good at, I think ultimately you guys are going to pull away because I don't think Allen's stoppable. And I think that Saffold is going to be able to handle his business next to Dawkins. Just not sure about Bates. I still like I don't know about if Brown's starting, but I still like Quisenberry inside at the guard position over Bates, but some people say no. But he's going to be the target for me. Donald's going to he's going to play over him. And I think if you just let Donald pin his ears back, it's going to be tough for you. But I still think you can have enough firepower to pull it out if you can stay balanced. Balance is the key for me, for you guys this year. Balance to keep that defense that's a little thin in certain areas off the field and to really add the danger to Allen on those boots. You can see what Tua's doing now with all that boot action off the run game. And just imagine what Allen can do with that. So that's my key.
Yeah, and I do agree with you. And Questenberry right now, I believe, is going to be starting at right tackle as Brown is still working his way back from back surgery. I think the plan is to have him the first guy off the bench if something happens because he can play all four, both tackles and both guard spots. Yep. They really seem to really like Bates. Bates has been solid with a little bit of time, but he's very limited. We saw him over like a 6-game stretch last year, and that was it. Yeah. So we'll be interested to see that. I think the key really is going to be Noteboom versus Von Miller. Noteboom is the guy who has replaced Andrew Whitworth at left tackle. Yeah. I think that matchup is going to play massively in this game. If Noteboom can hold his own against Vaughn and keep Stafford upright, I think they'll score more points. If Noteboom gets worked by Vaughn, that's going to start pushing him right, and that's going to be right into Oliver and Rousseau and Daquan Jones. Don't forget, we now actually have a legit one tech in Daquan Jones. And Jordan Phillips and Tim Settle and on the wave of defensive linemen that we have coming through. But I think that left tackle is going to be key for them.
Well, I think I was just looking his name up, Shelton. Shelton's the right guard. Oops, hold on, I hit the wrong thing here. Hit the wrong thing. Hit the wrong button. Yeah, to me, you got Allen, Shelton, Haverstein, Noteboom, and Edwards. And I think if Shelton needs extra help from the center, if Allen's got to swing over to help him too much, it's going to leave Noteboom on his own. And I think you got to have that center be able to go left and right because if they know he's always going right to help Shelton, then you can run some kind of interesting stunts on there with Vaughn in the backside. I think that's going to be the problem. So I think you're right. I think you're right, Mike. I think I'm going to focus on that one too.
Yeah, that Von Miller Noteboom, because they're going to play Oliver and Vaughn next to each other, so they'll be able to play those stunt games together. And that's just if it's a 2-on-2 man game, those aren't the two guys I want to go against.
No, and Ed Oliver's looking like a beast. Like he's every season Ed Oliver has like taken major steps, not like baby steps. Like this,
he reminds me so much of John Randall.
Right,
oh, man, dude.
That is a great comparison.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite guys, dude. I love him so much.
And he's next to one of the best. So, I mean, listen, Von Miller can, Deion Dawkins said it best. He's never played against a guy that could bend, who's so flexible coming around the edge, like Von Miller. Like he can get
call them Gumby.
Yeah, Gumby. Yeah. So it's like,
and he's great at run defense, which makes it even worse.
Yes, right. Yes. So it's not like exactly. So I think we're gonna give the Rams fits, man. I do. Plus their rushing attack is just it's average at best right now.
It comes down to that offensive line.
Yeah, I just don't see
gets
them
nervous. He gets nervous.
I don't see them beating us up front in the trench in that game, in the trench game. So. Moving on. Buccaneers Cowboys Sunday Night Football. So Tom Brady was on his whatever he said he was doing some shit or whatever he said or he had some shit come up. He said
45. He has some stuff going on.
Yeah. So he missed a little bit of camp or whatever or practice. Missed practice. They're going against the Seahawks, the Cowboys, which I think they did that last season, which was the opening game, correct? Was the Buccaneers Cowboys. So it's funny they got them playing again, which is, I got to say, that was a really good game last season. I thought the Cowboys did pretty well. They usually stick around. How do you feel the Cowboy Buccaneers gonna go? I'll start with you, Curtis. In Dallas, by the way, Sunday Night Football.
Well, they lost Smith for the season. That hurts, losing your left tackle and then rushing a rookie in to take care of that.
Yes.
And look, the Tampa's offensive line is a shambles too. But if I'm playing a game, I know that Bucs defense is going to stop the run. I know they're going to be decent in the pass. I know Brady's going to handle his business as far as taking care of the football. So I think that they're going to outlast them. I think it's going to come down to Brady just being careful enough, getting just enough to put on the victory. Because you can't lose Tyron Smith, your left tackle, put a rookie in there and think that's going to go well.
Yeah.
Especially on the edge, like with the Bucs, they've lost their centers. They lost 2 centers.
Yeah.
So they're the third string. But the ability, when you have a third string center in there, you can cover that up with help from a guards. So you got guards on either way, so you can shade one way or the other. Losing your all-pro left tackle, as it is, they're gonna have to send the 2 guard centers at Vita Vea because that guy is just a man child. And that's going to leave one-on-one with that rookie versus one of their pass rushers. That's not a matchup I want to see. And then Tom Brady gets the ball out so quick anyways that their pass rush isn't going to get to him as much. So I agree with Curtis. I see them just outlasting Dallas. I think Dallas is going to have a long year. I really do.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. They usually do. It's like Dallas.
Without Tyron Smith anchoring that offensive line, it's going to be a long year for Dallas.
Yeah, but I think they're going to be in a lot of games. Like I think this game is going to be exactly what you remember last year's game was. I think it's going to be kind of like a back and forth, a little early, and then I think Tampa's going to kind of just pull away at the end. You know what I mean? Fourth quarter, Brady's just going to be too much, and I think Dallas is just going to make a couple mistakes, and that's all you wrote.
I'll be surprised if it's close at halftime.
I think it will. I disagree. I think that game will be close in Dallas.
I'm not bullish on Dallas this year.
Okay. I mean, I think it's year 2 back from the injury. So I think Dak will probably be a little better than he was last year, especially coming out of the first game.
You can be as great as you want if you don't have an offensive line to protect you.
I get it, but they still got a stud running back. Elliott's still pretty damn good. So he is a weapon. I'm not saying he's the greatest right now, but he's still good. I take him. So we'll see. I don't think that's going to be a blowout by halftime. I think that game will be close.
I'm not saying blowout. I'll be surprised if it's close.
I think it will be.
I can see it being 21-3 at halftime.
Oh no way.
Okay.
Listen, the one thing that I will say this though, if you watch Tampa's games, some of their games were very close last year against lesser competition. They're not always blowing competition. They play to their competition. They play to the competition. If they play good teams, they play really well. If they play bad teams, they play really bad. They play to the competition. We'll see now this next game, I can agree with you because you're going to say it. Broncos versus Seahawks Monday Night Football. And the only reason we're going to talk, the only reason we're bringing it up because you know why the NFL did this.
Yeah.
So Russell Wilson returns to Seattle. Monday Night Football. It's really not worth a Monday Night Football game, but it's the whole.
It's the narrative.
He's coming back to see it. Yeah, the whole scenario. So we'll quick go through this. Curtis, blowout.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Seahawks going to be really bad this year. I think that's the plan.
Yeah.
I think the plan is to try to get a good draft pick. That's my personal take.
Right.
They're starting Geno Smith. What does that tell you?
Oh, man.
With all the quarterback carousel that went on this offseason, all of it, right? They had a chance to make trades for guys, and they chose not to and went with Geno Smith. I thought
Drew Lock was bad, too. I didn't even understand that. I mean, I know they did it with the trade, but I thought for sure they were going to, okay, we got him. We'll keep him as a back or something.
Well, he got COVID, and then he didn't get to play the last 2 weeks, so they went with Geno for week
he's
1.
Still what he wasn't the answer in Denver. He's not going to be the answer in C. He'd even look. There wasn't even. I didn't even see any promise in him, like nothing. So I don't understand what they were doing. But maybe they're just tanking to get a first quarterback. You know,
you want either Stroud or Bryce Young coming out.
Yeah. Next game is intriguing. It's Raiders versus Chargers. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think that's going to be a back and forth for sure. Curtis, your thoughts on the Raiders versus Chargers in LA?
To me, the Chargers are my surprise team to possibly outdo the Bills. I think they're a dangerous team. They've built their offensive lineup tremendously. They've got Mack and Bosa on the edge. I mean, there's some flaws to the team. Can they stop the run? But that offensive line is really bolstered. And to me, you can tell when you got a good franchise, they build themselves not the best offensive line in the league, but they can go get fine guys, step in to be big, and then they got depth. And Slater, he was just such a steal, a mind-blowing steal. They added to the position again this year in multiple rounds. And to me, it says that they're ready to protect their quarterback, run the football, and play consistent style game to keep that defense off the field, put points on, and let those two ends chase. I think they're going to be dangerous. I think they're going to take the division. And I think they're going to start by beating the Raiders.
I will tell you, I love what they've done. I think it all comes down to the health of Mack. Mack has not been healthy for the last 2.5 years. If he can stay healthy on the opposite, and Bosa hasn't either. Bosa's been hurt a bunch too.
That's true.
If those two can stay healthy, I do think they challenge for conference supremacy. I think I think they would be the competition for the Bills because they're loaded offensively and defensively if everyone's healthy.
Herbert's dangerous.
But and Herbert is basically Allen light. Like they are so similar. Allen runs a little bit more than Herbert. That's about it. But ultimately, I mean, they have all the weapons. They have everything you need to make those runs. It comes down to the health of those two DNs. Because they brought in J.C. Jackson, and they drafted the young corner last year who I loved, Asante Samuel Jr. So, I mean, I loved those two guys. Now, it'll be interesting to see what their coach, if he doesn't jack it up like he did last year, go for it like on his own 20. It doesn't make any sense to do that. So if he's learned his lessons and you can keep those two DNs healthy, I think they got a real shot.
Yeah,
it's a great point, Mike.
I agree. I think the AFC just
the West is going to cannibalize itself. That West is deep.
That's tough. Yeah, that's a tough. I wouldn't want to be in that division. That's a. But the AFC just loaded up, man. I mean, even some of the teams that aren't going to do that good this year, even they got better.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this game in LA, I think the Chargers will narrow this one out once again. It's going to be probably come down to the fourth quarter. I'm going to say honestly, the Chargers will win, but I will say whoever has the ball last. I'm going to go. It could be either way. I'm going to say whoever has the ball last 2 minutes ago. I don't think it's going to be that.
I'm concerned about Vegas's secondary. The secondary is where they're really light. They just traded their best corner.
Yeah, you know. Well, the Chargers are. The thing with the Chargers, though, the only thing I will say this, and I understand you guys are, what you mean by that, like competing with the Buffalo Bills or hanging with them.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I will say about the Chargers is they tend to fizzle out towards the end of the season. They tend to go on this bad spiral of losing games they shouldn't.
Injuries.
I mean, either way, but either way though, that's a spot they are known to do that. So we'll see. Can they last 17 games without a hiccup? We'll see. Hey, Scott.
Let's get
Bills
real, guys.
Going 20-0.
You Dolphins will be the only undefeated team.
That's right, Curtis. Undefeated. 72 Dolphins. Get out of here.
There you go. That's one thing I'm definitely rooting against.
Get that talk out of here. All right, so moving on. Browns and Panthers, another game the NFL set up on purpose. But it's Jacoby Brissett, not Deshaun Watson, versus the Panthers and former first-round pick Baker Mayfield. Curtis, how do you see this game going in Carolina with a healthy running back now in Carolina? He's back. So how you feel this game's going to go, man? McCaffrey.
Yeah, McCaffrey's a real good back, but he just can't stay healthy. And that offensive line of the Panthers is still a big question, even though they added pieces to it. I think Mayfield's going to be the better quarterback, but I think he's going to lose. I think that Browns defense is still pretty good. Their run game's pretty good. Their offensive line's pretty good. And
so you think Jacoby does just enough to okay, fair enough.
And I truly believe it comes down to McCaffrey. If he can stay healthy and be a sliver of the player he was pre-injuries, they have a shot. They have a shot. If he isn't that guy, because he was 90% of that offense. And Baker's the better quarterback. I do agree with Curtis on that. Baker's the better quarterback. They also have some weapons. I love DJ Moore. That defensive line is fantastic on Carolina. But you're going against the best offensive line in football in Cleveland. Like that offensive line is one of the best, and they can just run and play action. So as long as Brissett doesn't blow it and lose the game for him, I would give them the edge.
Yeah, I agree. I agree there. I think the Browns offensive line will just manhandle the Panthers defense, and I don't think they're going to ask too much of Jacoby Brissett. I think they got two of the best running backs in the league, like as far as a two-headed monster goes. And I think you'll see a lot of running until Deshaun gets back later in the season, and then they'll open it up a little bit with the passing. But I think there'll be a run-heavy team until, like I said, till Watson returns. But I think they win. I don't think I don't think this game's close. I'll be real with you. I think Browns win by at least 13. 10, 13.
I'm with Scott. I'm rooting for Baker. I can't believe they gave that guy $230 million guaranteed.
I know.
Like, talk about ruining.
Typical
Browns. Typical Browns move.
All right. Well, Curtis needs to go. So we got two more games, and then Curtis is out of here. So Patriots
recovered from COVID.
Yes, my poor Curtis got the.
We appreciate you hanging in there with us, buddy. Appreciate you hanging in there with us.
Got to get you some NyQuil, man. Patriots versus Dolphins. The only reason I'm bringing this game up is because you guys always play well versus the Patriots. It's always a good game.
Even in the Brady years.
The
Dolphins always took one from them.
I'll never forget the one game, and I know you got to go, but I'll never forget the one game. It was like 2 years ago or something, and it was like 5 seconds to go, and you guys kept flicking it back and forth, back and forth, and normally those plays never work, right? Normally a fumble happens or tackled out, and you scored a touchdown on the game. And I said, that's the Dolphin Patriots game. That's how they go. So how do you see the Patriots at Miami game going? And I'll start with you, Curtis, since it's your team.
Well, to me, it's going to be the litmus test for who the Dolphins are as far as their floor. Belichick, look, I'm not the brightest football mind that ever landed on planet Earth, but I can look at my offensive line and I can see ways to totally screw them up because of the deficiencies of Eichenberg and Jackson. And I think the Patriots are going to give up yards. It's going to come down to that red zone defense. And I'm a little concerned that they have Aguilar, they have Parker now, and they have the other guy, I can't remember his name. So they got a little bit of depth at receiver. And if you watched the game last year, both games, Mac was able to put yards and points on against his Dolphins defense. And now minus Byron Jones, and I just think it's going to be real. And McDaniels is a rookie coach against Belichick. I don't know. If they can pull this off and win this one, it's going to say volumes to me. I think it's going to say more if they lose than if they win. If they win, it's kind of like a hold situation where they're supposed to win it and they got the good win, and I want to see more. If they lose, it's not going to be good news, man. If they lose, I have a bad feeling for the Dolphins this season because they're going to have 3 more games after that, and they're probably going to lose the next 3. Those are very tough games.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got the Jets, and you got a nice string in there, but you can't come out, with losing to the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are going to suck. I think they're going to contend for like 9, 10, 11 wins, and they're going to be fighting for that second in the division. That's my personal belief. I think there's a much ado about them being dead is wrong. Last year, they were a lesser team. Yeah, they got rid of what's his face, Shaq Mason and J.C. Jackson. But Mac was a rookie. And they've added some pieces to this thing that I kind of like. And I think that he's moving to a different style defense. They're going to have Duggar, Sanders, and McCourty. You're going to see big nickel more. And I just think they're going to be able to run that football. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be tough. I like Cole Strange. I think he might have been overdrafted, but I think he fits them. And I think they're just going to be a tough team. And I think the Dolphins and the Patriots are going to be battling out for that second spot. Dolphins got to come out with the win. They've got to. It's going to be very hard for them to get that playoff spot.
I'll tell you, I do agree that the Dolphins have to win this game. But I disagree with you that the Patriots are going to be pushing for 11 wins. And mine's a little bit different. Not even so much the guys on the field. It's the guys calling the plays. You have a defensive coordinator in Patricia and a special team coach in Judge running your offense. The loss of Josh McDaniels is probably the key loss for them because he's ran their offense for years.
Yeah,
he was the guy because Belichick was hands off because he ran the offense. I could be dead wrong here. I also think the offensive line is a little skeptical. They were looking to move their left tackle Isaiah Wynn, and they couldn't find any takers. Cole Strange is a rookie. They don't have Scarnecchia anymore as the offensive line coach. He retired. So, I'm a little skeptical on what they're doing from a coaching staff standpoint. If Belichick can figure out, and listen, if there's anybody that can figure it out, it's that guy. He's one of the greatest to ever do it, if not the greatest to ever do it. I'm not gonna write him off as dead. I don't see them pushing for 11 wins unless some miracle happens. I watched their preseason games. That offense looks confused.
Yeah,
they're gonna be good defensively.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that. I think I see him as an 8-win team. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Belichick has made a huge mistake in not bringing in a coordinator to take over, and bringing in Patricia and then Judge to co-offense, which Curtis, how that works, co-offense.
At least Curtis had 2 offensive guys.
Right. But it still doesn't. It's still kind of a tug-of-war battle, I feel. We don't know. We're not up there. But I just don't like the system. It just doesn't feel right. And it wouldn't seem like it would work well. And then you got 2 guys, that one's a defensive mind, one's a special team guy. Now you really got 2 guys that are just kind of out of their realm. I don't know. I don't like that part. They lost J.C. Jackson, which was a dog corner for them. Mac Jones is not having a good camp or preseason. So could he have taken a little step back? We'll see. You know how that is. They always say the second year is where you're going to tell a lot from the quarterback. Sometimes they take a giant step back. Sometimes they take a giant step forward. Mac Jones, we'll see. But right now in camp, he's not looking too good, and there's a lot of talk that he's not.
And I don't think it's Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is a solid quarterback.
I think it's okay. I think he's a system quarterback. And the problem with the system quarterback is the guy running the system is no longer in the system. So that's where I go back to, right? Okay, so that's where I go back to. I don't know if Mac Jones can lead now a team where he fit a good system quarterback as a guy running it, got him in the correct system. It worked out so perfect, Mac Jones. If a quarterback go into a game and not throw the ball one time and still win.
3 times. He threw it 3 times.
Did he 3 times? Okay, sorry.
He threw it 3 times.
Basically none, okay? It still come out with the win. The problem is when Mac Jones was needed last season, I kind of felt like he showed that rookie kind of setback, right? And which is understandable. I get it. But you understood when the pressure was on, especially in the playoffs, what happened, right? So he is a little bit limited in what he does. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I just don't feel like he has the strongest arm. He has an average arm. I don't feel like he's the worst on completion percentage, but he's not the greatest. I think he's good. So I think he's very limited in some stuff. He's not very mobile, but can he get out of the pocket? Sure. He's like I said, I think he's a system quarterback, and the person running the system right now is going to confuse him. And I don't think he has a lot of weapons either. I think his weapons are very limited. And we'll see.
Scott's showing you love, Curtis.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. So that game, but Patriots and Dolphins are always close. They're in Miami. I'm going to give it to the Dolphins. But next Friday, we're going to do our predictions, our score prediction. We're going to do it today. But I will give the edge to Miami because it's in Miami. Miami did win last year as well, their opener. So I'm going to give the edge to Miami for all the things I just said.
I like Miami's defense.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I love Xavier Howard is a beast. Like
Holland
I love
is my favorite. Javon Holland is going to be elite safety. That guy is a playmaker.
He is. But I love Trey White, and Trey White's definitely when healthy, he's like top 5. But Xavier Howard to me is just
a playmaker. He's a playmaker.
He
the ball hawk.
He's 1 or 2. I mean, he's right there. He's an unbelievable talent. Like he really is, and that's why he deserved the contract he got. Okay, last game, and Curtis got to go. Chiefs versus Cardinals. The reason why I put this game down for us to talk about real quick is it is interesting because Tyreek Hill is gone, and you're going against the Cardinals in Kyle Murray just got the contract. So it is an interesting, right, with no D-Hop. So it's an interesting kind of game. I'll start with Curtis on this one. How you see this game going in Arizona?
Well, to me, it's going to be interesting to watch Mahomes because last year I thought Mahomes was very, very sloppy. I saw him many times. The pressure wasn't even really there. He was already on the move. He was playing too much backyard football. And it's going to be interesting to see if he gets back to the basics and distributes the football like that West Coast Andy Reid type style. And I think they do that, they'll be fine. They just got to run the football more. Andy Reid and his fun ball, man, I'm so tired of it. He cost this team. He cost every team he has because he likes to throw the football too much. They got a good offensive line. Defense is 50-50. But I like them better than the Cardinals because Murray's all over the place. The offensive line is not so hot. It's banged up.
Yep.
And I don't know what they're going to get. The defense is going to be good, but to me, Murray's he's all over the place. And I don't know what to read from this guy. And that offensive line is not so hot. So I like Chiefs because I think they're going to have the better offensive line. I think Mahomes is the better quarterback. And I think he's going to get back to basics and really try to be more disciplined with his style of play.
Play within scheme. I agree with almost everything Curtis said there. The only thing I would add is with the Cardinals is Kyle Murray without DeAndre Hopkins is a sub 500 quarterback.
Yeah,
he loses his go-to because he doesn't read the progressions. I think this is why they put that clause in his contract originally because they wanted to
that's crazy
learn the progressions. So because when you have someone double teaming your number one, that frees somebody else one-on-one, and you feel your guy could beat that guy. Yeah. Without him there, I have a feeling Kansas City and Chris Jones is going to eat Kyle Murray up, and I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think the Chiefs are still very dangerous. Like I hate freaking Chiefs, man, but they still have Andy Reid, who's a genius coach. They still got Patrick Mahomes. They still got Kelsey. They still got speed receivers and Harmon and I forget the other guy's name. So it's not like they got like slow. Right. They didn't get slow all of a sudden. Right. Like they still got dangerous weapons. And they got a decent defense. Like I just
what
don't
they
see
did on the defense side. I like what
I think that, like you said, with no D-Hop, I think Kyle Murray is limited. I still think he can make some plays. Listen, let's not totally write him off. He still can scramble. He still has his legs. He still has a very good arm. But I just don't think he has a lot of support, without D-Hop, and that's his go-to guy. So I think the Chiefs go to Arizona and just I think
it's not just
I don't think
D-Hop.
it's
He
close.
lost Christian Kirk too as number 2.
Christian Kirk, you're right. Yeah. Yep. So I just think I think the Chiefs go there. They take care of business, unless, like Curtis said, they play sloppy. Unless it gets cute. Unless Mahomes,
It's not even Mahomes. It's Andy Reid puts the freaking tight end under center.
Yeah, but Mahomes,
$500 million quarterback.
Yeah, but Mahomes gets cute at times. He doesn't know look things. He doesn't, he scrambles around a lot. He does make a little try to street ball a little bit, but I think they handle business, and that's a wrap. So, guys, we're about to get off now, but I do want to remind you one more time, NFL Overtime Podcast will be on Ace Per Head next Friday at 9:30. So you got to go to Ace Per Head, not Mafia Sports Report, next Friday, and then the following Friday we'll be right back here again, NFL Overtime Podcast. So it's going to alternate week after week. So go subscribe to Ace Per Head, put the notification bell on so you know we're going live. Do it here as well. Other than that, guys, I appreciate your time. Mikey, thank you for jumping on with us, and we are out of here, guys. Curtis, everybody in the chat, Scott, thank you so much. Peace out. Go Bills.
Go Bills.